Right.
Okay, good evening, guys. Welcome. My name is Katie-Marie. I'm a lifestyle and fitness coach based in London, and I have my own personal journey with PTSD. I am speaking this evening with Sarah Hollebon. She is a London-based fashion designer, and she trained on Saville Row, and we're going to tell you a bit more about that. And she has her studio on Kingly Street in London. So that's a very exciting place to be, central London, fashion. And in terms of Sarah's projects and her garments, there's very much social issues and mental health issues that are raised through the really delicate and intricate work that she puts into the garments. So at first you're drawn to the fashion, it's this amazing cut and style, and then you start looking at the details and it opens the conversation. And so I said to Sarah, please can I look at one of your garments? And we literally spoke for ages, looking at the details and thinking about, what this meant to us and our experience and how it can be shared and the conversation it opens. So please may I introduce Sarah. So glad to have you, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really excited to be here. And I think it's a really fitting month to be talking about PTSD as well for PTSD Awareness Month. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, I'm so glad to have you here. And it's so wonderful to be talking about some of our experiences that, where we are being able to, create and do wonderful things. And so I'm really excited to share that, your energy and your passion in that sense. So it would be great to go back to the beginning. So, what when did you actually think, this is my medium, I want to pick up with a needle and thread and work with fabrics and design? Where did it all start for you?
So growing up as a child, my mum and grandma were always into knitting. So, and I was like around that all the time. Like my mum had a knitting business and my grandma was always knitting. So I always had that, yeah. So I was always like around that form of creativity, even if I wasn't really like aware of it properly because I was so young. And then I do remember the very first thing I ever made with a needle and like a sewing machine was a pillow at school. That was like my first ever thing at secondary school. But where it really, so I really like started the skills at secondary school with a pillow. Everyone's got to start somewhere, of course. But where it really became a passion and something that really feeds my soul is when I got to college. And my fashion and textiles tutors were just incredible. They were so inspiring, they were so motivational. Like their energy that they brought to every session just made me want to be creating. So because of them, like I really got into how exciting it was and how limitless it is. It's and just creativity is just so powerful, and it just really helped me. And then so with my PTSD, I've experienced two separate traumas, and the first trauma was at college, not actually at college, but like whilst I was at college. And I remember one summer, I had the trauma and I was going through, like the flashbacks and everything, and it was a really hard time, and I couldn't really leave the house because of the hypervigilance and stuff. And I found fashion to be the thing that really helped me feel human again. It really, I was channeling all of the emotions and thoughts and feelings into my work. So yeah, I've really got my tutors at college to thank for that. And they were always really supportive as well with my mental health. So I think that also helped. I've just since college, really, I've just not been able to stop making, like it's just something that I need to do in order to, feel calm and relieve my, anxiety and the build up and everything. That's really where it started from.
I think that's really nice as well, because it sounds like it was a supportive environment for you. So it wasn't just, so you discovered your passion and you just discovered what you wanted to do. And then to have those tutors who were supportive and people who recognized that, you know, you needed your space to do what you were doing and create, that's so wonderful. You know, because that's a really nurturing start. So then it sets you off in a positive direction.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
Having support around you is just so important when you've got mental ill health. I mean, it's just important anyway. You know, sometimes it can even prevent things from happening. So yeah, just having that support around you. It doesn't have to always be family. You know, it can be anyone as well.
A lot of, I mean, talking is such an integral thing to dealing with PTSD, I find. You know, just being able to express yourself, have conversations, like having a conversation, you know, with you tonight is just such a wonderful, you know, it's a relief, you know, it's like this, and a connection, you know, where other people are saying, what's going on? How come you think like that? And then it's like, wow, you know, I find, oh, you know, I find in your art, I find some of the answers I'm looking for, that connection. So
That's really nice to know. It's really, really good.
Well, let me ask you. So, Saville Row, you know, I'm fascinated in Saville Row. My background in the galleries, we've got some amazing galleries there. So I used to walk past the tailoring places, and I was just blown away with the work they were doing. So I'd love for you to tell us more about your time on Saville Row. And for anyone who's not familiar with that part of Mayfair, it's a famous fine bespoke tailoring area. So a lot of, there's a, you know, you can go and get lovely personalized garments, and you know, so for Sarah, for you to be training at that level is such an achievement. And you know, it'd be great to know a bit more about that and how it felt, you know, walking down that renowned street every morning.
Okay, so yeah, so it, like, when I got the opportunity to train with a tailor, it was just amazing, really. And what's an interesting thing about Saville Row now, in the past, like, I don't know, 5 years maybe, or maybe even more, is that a lot of the workshops have actually got a lot smaller downstairs, because of the rent. The rent is just extortionate.
Oh yes.
And so what's happened is that a lot of tailors are actually moving out of the city, and then they post work in a lot of the time. So a lot of my time working with a Saville Row tailor was actually in Somerset, believe it or not.
Relaxing.
Yeah. So I wasn't necessarily walking down that street all the time. However, because I was an apprentice for this tailor for about 9 months, I was training with her like every day, and because of her connections and because she still goes to Saville Row, she just doesn't go as often. She actually did get me some time at one of the houses called Norton and Sons. So that was really, really, really fantastic. But yeah, most of my time was with Felicity, which is the waistcoat maker in Somerset. But just to learn at that level, like you said, it's just incredible. I mean, I did train in bespoke tailoring at London College of Fashion, and then I went to be an apprentice after I graduated for 9 months. And I just, you know, to have someone with you like one-to-one to like really see exactly what you're doing, exactly what stitch you're making and stuff, was really, really helpful for me, because it really made me precise with my work. And also it taught me she taught me patience, which I haven't, to be taught that with sewing, I think it's really important, because a lot of the time it's not going to work out. You know, you've really got to like keep going, keep unpicking, keep stitching until it's perfect. And yeah, so that I really learned a lot from her. And then my time at Norton and Sons was really fantastic as well. So when I was at uni, I actually did a lot of internships in fashion and also in bridal. So when I went to Norton and Sons, it was a completely different environment. I had quite a lot of bad experiences interning in fashion and bridal. And so to go to a place where I actually felt welcomed was actually a big deal for me. And it just made me feel like calm, you know, and I actually like felt like, oh, I can actually do this, you know, I can do the work. And yeah, So I was really grateful for that. And yeah, just to see the workroom at Norton and Sons is quite small out the back. And so the head cutter is always in the room as well. So I got to see how he worked every day. And that was really, really interesting. See how he like communicated to clients, how he drafted out his patterns. And then he also let me like watch him as well. And then yeah, he also helped me with the waistcoats that I was working on there. So yeah, yeah, learned so much my time both at Norton and Sons and with Felicity. And yeah, it's really, having that experience has really informed where I am now today with my work and yeah, with my mental well-being as well, to be honest.
Absolutely. Well, you make an interesting point, because I've been thinking about this a lot this week for various reasons, but the idea of the stress that can be found in office environments, in pressured environments where, you know, for example, you might find that there are certain colleagues who might bring their pressure and their stress into a situation, and it makes it very difficult, especially for people who are creative, who are trying to have that headspace to think, to, you know, think about what they're trying to design, what they're working on, and then trying to create that, so make it into something. You really don't need that added rah, rah, rah around you. You need to be in an environment where you have that space to think. And if your anxiety is high, it will make it difficult to do things like, you know, with the needlework, it's so precise. So, you know, you don't need that anxiety. You actually need to be in flow and in focus.
Yeah.
So I love that you had that experience, you know, where you got to work so closely with these fascinating people. And on top of that, they gave you that other side, the way things can be, a lovely environment, you know, supportive people, just trying to do, you know, create and work on projects and not be trying to foster a challenging environment. So I think that's really lovely that you had that afterwards, you know. So
yeah, it was a big game changer for me, because I was like, that was the first time I'd ever really had like a job where yeah, like I just got on with the people, so that it just like put yeah, just faith back into like the whole working environment for me anyway. Yeah, so yeah, it was really, and it's really important. I mean, like when I'm designing and stuff, I need to be either in like a quiet environment to really get into my head, or to be around people who, you know, are also in some form of similar flow and stuff like that. It really depends. The environment you work in is really, really important, and it really, depending on what environment you're in, will depend on your outcome for your work, I think.
Absolutely. And also, and the way that the people that work in that place, you know, when you go to somewhere and you can tell they have a good working environment, that everyone's getting on, you can see it on their face. They're not stressed and pale and like, oh, you know, I don't want to be here.
Deprived, yeah.
I work here. I'm so proud of it. This is what we do. You know, so it's like, you know, it makes such a difference. Well, so okay, so now let's go on to Soho. So things have been going from strength to strength in terms of your creativity and what you're doing. And you're now running your own professional business in a studio based in Soho, which is amazing. So please, could you tell us a bit more about the Kingsley Street Tailors project, and maybe a bit about what it's like in the life of a London fashion designer and tailor?
Yeah, so I won the studio space through a competition that was through my university, London College of Fashion, and Shaftesbury, who are the landlords of the building.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, so the competition was to win a studio space for 2 years, and then also mentoring, and also a very nice grant as well from Harold Tillman. So yeah, so to win that competition was just like, yeah, it was a big moment for me, definitely. Very grateful to that those kind of competitions are around as well, you know, like when you leave university, a lot of the time people are just left on their own, and it can be very daunting, and it can be hard to start up a business if you don't have like the space around you. I mean, you can definitely start up space start up a business if you're limited to space. Well, definitely. But just like to actually just have that as well, it's just like it helps, you know, it can never not help.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that was a fantastic competition, and they're actually running it again now, which is really exciting. It's good to see that it's moving on. And yeah, so the building that it's in is actually full of tailors, and it's just around the corner from Saville Row, and a lot of the tailors there are very old tailors, and they all work for Saville Row, so that's really great. And there's one guy in there called Chris, who I'm actually really good friends with, and he's actually helped me quite a bit with my work that I've had with certain things of trousers, or like the fit of a trouser on a client. I went to him and asked him some advice on it, and he just like instantly knew, and I went and did it, and I was like, yeah, this is perfect. Yeah, you know, like they definitely know their stuff. And from my experience, quite a lot of tailors want to help, you know, they want to impart their wisdom on people. So yeah, so it's a really nice building. It's a really cool building. And then, sorry, what was the question? Was it a day to day or week to week?
No, well, just you know, I'm just wondering what, like, yeah, like, what was your week like this week? How was it? What kind of things do you do? You very studio bound, or is it a mixture? Are you traveling around the city? Because, you know, sometimes we find ourselves creating and we're quite in the studio quite a bit. And then
Oh yeah,
you have to take the project out to the world, and all of a sudden, you know, running around on the tube. So
definitely.
well, it's yeah, like a general kind of
So
week.
this week I've actually been quite ill, so I haven't really been there. So I'm not going to talk about this week.
Okay, last week. You
Yeah,
can remember it.
last week. Yeah, so I mean, before the pandemic it was different, you know, like I was going out quite a lot because I had meetings, and they would obviously be in offices or, you know, wherever. And then yeah, so that would be quite, but now everything's online, so a lot of the meetings are still on Zoom, so I am actually in my studio space a lot, which I'm okay with because I love it. It's makes me happy every time I'm there, you know, makes me smile every time I'm there. So
I love that. You're smiling when you get to work. That's what you want. That's the dream.
yeah, it's what people need to strive for. There's no reason, yeah, to not
I
have
mean, I
that.
know you go through a lot of things, you know, to get to work, to, you know, and obviously with PTSD, you know, that is always something that you're managing. But the fact that when you get to work, you're like, this is where I am, this is where I should be, this is where I feel good. It's so amazing to hear that, you know?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful for that. Yeah, so I mean, I do quite a lot, to be honest. So I, my week is normally split between the design and the business. So you know, I'll have like 2 days on business and then 3 days on designing. Sometimes 4, because sometimes I do 6 days. And yeah, so like the business is ranging really. I mean, you know, creating spreadsheets for like the costings of my products, maintaining my website, planning the social media, working on updating my customer profile, like how to reach them, you know, and then also working on my newsletter to reach reoccurring customers. So yeah, a lot. So it's like a really broad spectrum really. And then with the designing, you know, I'm designing literally like drawing, doing sketches, brainstorming, making mood boards, interviewing people, to gain a deeper understanding of their experiences to then transfer into garments, sourcing fabrics, trimmings, you know, buttons. Helen?
It's a busy life.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I do have a couple of people who help me. So you know, it's not literally just me. But I am looking to bring in an intern. That is a bit more, just having someone a bit more regular.
Oh, nice.
With me.
And that'll be really great for them as well, because they'll learn so much from you as you have from other people.
Exactly.
That's so
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah, that's the aim, definitely. And yeah, just like a lot of sewing, you know, sampling, pattern drafting, finishing the products off as well. Yeah, so it's yeah, what I like about it is that it's not like the same thing, you know, it's very different. And I do actually find the business side of it really interesting as well. So
yeah, I mean, that's really great, because sometimes people think, oh, I love the creative side, but what am I going to do about the business side? You can almost have a creative outlook about your business side, you know, and
definitely.
solutions. And so I remember telling an artist once that I love Excel and I love spreadsheets, and they said, I don't understand, I don't you're in the art world. And I was like, I know, but my spreadsheets are like, I use all the different colors of the palette and I change the fonts. So, but essentially it tells you everything you need to know, and you're organized. And so that, because sometimes, you know, our creativity needs some form of direction and shaping. We can't just go out into the world and explode with, like, you know,
Yeah.
colors. We actually need to have some form of like direction. So
Definitely. It's funny you say that, you know, because my cousin, she's an art gallery manager, and she loves spreadsheets as well. So yeah, that's funny you say that.
in the gallery.
Yeah.
No, she has to love them because everything is on a spreadsheet. But and then you go to the actual exhibition. So we might be exhibiting, you know, a wonderful exhibition of garments. Like, I mean, you had that wonderful exhibition of your garments. That was amazing. I mean, maybe you could tell us more about that. That was like, you know, actually people could go and see your work, see it on display. And so for someone who loves going to see art pieces, for me, I'm attracted. I'm like, wow, you know, visually I'm drawn in. So tell us just a little bit about that project and who you were working with, and just very quickly.
Sure. I mean, I've done like a range of exhibitions, so I'm not exactly sure which one specifically.
Laura, you know,
Pardon?
you know the one I mean, with Laura Fisher.
Oh yeah,
I'm thinking of that one in particular.
Okay, yeah. So that one was at Willesden Gallery, and that was in November 2019. I have to remember dates because of the pandemic now. So that was a physical one, which was great. That was actually the last one that I exhibited at that was physical, and that exhibition was really special. I mean, they all were, but this one was on trauma, and everyone exhibiting there had to have a lived experience with trauma. So that it was a very powerful exhibition. Yeah, I got to meet a lot of the other artists that were exhibiting there, and some of them I've actually stayed in contact with since regularly. So it was very thought-provoking and very emotive. So yeah, that was fantastic. And Laura curated the whole thing. She planned the whole thing. She organized the whole thing, and then she also exhibited her own work. And
I don't know where she found the time. I have no idea.
She's very inspiring. She's a very, very wonderful woman. Yeah, so I think so for me, I realized that my garments work best in a gallery setting versus on a catwalk. I mean, I have done catwalks before, and like I still will, but I think exhibitions are the key, because there's such a deep message behind each one, and that deserves time to stand there and listen, read about it, think about it, you know, take it in. Whereas on the catwalk, everything goes by so quickly. That's more about like aesthetic looks, you know, or like the show.
Because you've got both. You've got that high fashion tailored look, but you've also got that deep message which deserves a gallery platform, in that sense that people can, you know, spend time. So oh my god, I absolutely agree with you there. I mean, it's just amazing. So you're very open to doing like shows in you know, in galleries and that kind
of gosh, yeah, that's where I'd rather them be.
Yeah, that's amazing. Right, we need to curate something. Anyway.
That'd be awesome.
But you've been doing online exhibitions as well, haven't you? Because I've seen on your website. So guys, if anyone hasn't been to Sarah's website already, please do go and have a look. As you've heard, I can't believe that you actually put your website together and do all the content, because it's stunning. I mean, it's so like, I love it. It's It's right up my street.
That's really kind of you. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys, like it was hard.
Like I love it. And if you go onto Sarah's website, so it's www.sarahhollebon.co.uk, you can go and see some of her virtual exhibition. You can go and have a look at the pictures from the exhibition from 2019. So, you know, it's all there, and I absolutely recommend it, you know. And I love the fact that you raise awareness about PTSD and mental health, you know, in general. So saying that, so PTSD and making sense of things, let me take you back. So your craft was a part of you from your early stages, and it was a way of you making sense of PTSD. It's a place where you found solace, self-expression, and it's progressed to the medium that you are comfortable with to raise awareness about social issues, including mental illness. Self-expression is very important with PTSD, certainly on a personal and a private level. And you've gone on to disclose your personal experience openly, raising awareness as part of a larger social discourse. It takes strength to bring the private into the public, if that is your path. Was there a turning point for you when you decided to share your story with your art publicly, or has it been a natural part of your self-expression to share?
So, like I was saying earlier,
words there. Sorry, I just spoke a lot, but has this been a natural? No, yeah.
Well, thank you for repeating that question. I appreciate that actually. But luckily, I already know because you kind of we've spoken about them before. So like I was saying earlier, I use fashion as a way to channel like my emotions, thoughts, and feelings from, you know, everyday life, my trauma, or just my mental ill health, like anxiety and stuff like that. So there's always been like an integral part of why I'm always making. But in terms of actually talking about my own experience, it's quite interesting actually, because when I started the mental health collection at university, I conducted interviews with people who had experience with these specific mental health conditions, and I was also drawing on from my own experiences. And then when I graduated uni, I started public speaking with the garments, and I was advocating the stigmas and misconceptions, and then talking about the people's experiences that I interviewed. But I never spoke about my experience. And even though it was an integral part of it as well, you know, I was still drawing on from my own experiences. But I was always talking in like a third person. And I guess I never really realized I was doing it, to be honest. I've never really spoken about it. I'd never spoken about it publicly before, you know, like my close-knit friends knew, and that was it, and my family as well.
It's your experience, it's absolutely yours. So you don't have to do that. So I think that's really, you know, it's good to be able to know what you want, how you want to handle things. Maybe you want to talk more later on down the line, but just knowing what's right for you is so lovely to hear that. So sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. No, you're completely right. I mean, yeah, just knowing what you need and want inside you is just really, really important, because it's, you know, you're protecting yourself. Going into like a state where you're oversharing or something and you're not ready for that, it can be really, really damaging for yourself. So you've got to know when you're ready. Talking about that, so the main turning point for me talking about my experiences was actually when I met Steve Loft. So me and Katie know Steve. Steve is both of our mentors, and I think he's also in the audience tonight.
Might be.
So so when I met Steve, I met him at one what's going on in your head, which is an event run by John Salmon, and I was advocating my garments and the mental health conditions, and he was in the audience, and then he came up to me after and we were talking, and then after that he came to my studio, and we quickly got on and stuff, and we were talking, and I was talking about my own mental health experiences, and he basically introduced me to Time to Change, Speakers Collective, and then also a mentoring program between me and him. And for people who don't know, Time to Change is a Speakers Collective. Time to Change is a mental health campaign where people are volunteers and they're called champions. And in order to be a champion, you have to have a lived experience, and people use their lived experience as a way of challenging stigma and discrimination in local communities of men around mental health. And the Speakers Collective is a public speaking organization where everyone, different speakers tackle various social issues, and it's a really nice community of everyone supporting each other in terms of the speakers. And then also with Steve, I mean, our mentoring that we did and still do, you know, he slowly at my own pace showed me how to talk about my own experiences, basically in a safe way that was right for me on my own terms. So having that mentor there for me was really important, because deep down I did want to talk about it, especially with the public speaking I was doing beforehand. I did want to do it because I wanted people to kind of know that I understand to an extent of certain conditions, you know, and I'm not just there talking about it, but I just didn't know how to, you know. And so yeah, he really helped me. And then also with Time to Change as well, I mean, they gave me just hearing other people talk about their experiences was really inspiring for me. So yeah, that was the big turning point for me, talking about my experiences. So yeah,
that's so wonderful to have that guidance and to have someone that does, you know, that does kind of give you some perspective on things that are new ventures for you, but if they've got some experience and some insight to impart, it's just such a wonderful thing, you know. And I have to agree with you, Steve Loft, so he's my mentor as well, very nurturing person. He really, you know, he listens to the individual, where they're coming from, and then he tries to, you know, he helps you with you, not, you know, this is what we need to do or this is where we need to be, but you know, what do we need to do for you as an individual to get to where you want to be. And you know, it is really great with the speaking, because you know, obviously, you know, us guys, we get on camera and we like start chatting away, get a bit comfortable, and then you never know what you might say, and then you think, oh, how's someone else going to take that? And you know, the one that's interesting for me has been, you know, obviously, sorry, there's someone shut a door there. When I opened my own business, all of a sudden I could express myself in whatever way I wanted to, because I'm not thinking, oh, how does that line up with my boss? Who's going to see my Instagram? What are they going to think when I talk about the fact that I've got a mental illness and that I'm on medication? Are they going to look at that as something that goes against me for a job, you know? So it was a lot to think about. And it's like, I found it really fascinating talking with Steve, because Steve can really help me sort these things out and make sense of where I want to go, how it might be received, and how to think about it. And you know, sometimes, you know, you want to just, this is my story, and sometimes it does need a bit of finesse. You know, you don't want to go and upset everybody, but you want to carry your message across. So it's just wonderful having Steve's support, you know, and I'm so glad that's your experience. You know, it's really great. And yeah, we should get Steve on for a chat at some point. I think now we've made such a massive you know, entrance for him. I think we need to show him in a talk at some point. So that's in the pipeline. But
I agree, definitely.
It's so wonderful to hear about Time to Change and all the things that you've been doing there as well. And you know, the speaking, you know, I'm so Steve said he's going to be on board. He's going to join us for a talk. So I'm very excited. See, I'm very excitable today. So no, but I loved it, you know, what you said about, you know, how you're campaigning, and you know, and also this reciprocal, you'll support someone when they want to join, you know, maybe work with you, you know, you've got Steve supporting you when you want to get into other areas. So you know, I think that is the best way to be. No, you know, just, you know, trying to help everyone get you know, get things done, you know, and do amazing projects. So
exactly, and just knowing that there's people out there that actually want to help you and like impart their, you know, experiences and advice and stuff, because the world can be a very like daunting place, you know, on your own. So just having that support is just really important. And kindness is, a lot of people are kind, and a lot of people do want good things to happen to other people.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, no, I'm so glad that that's your experience, and to hear about it is very boosting, you know what I mean? It feels good. So
Oh, I'm glad.
So, PTSD and art. PTSD is a challenging condition to manage. However, I've noticed that with PTSD, we have the ability to feel other people's sensitivities, and that really comes out through your work. I personally think it's best said by people with lived experience. Your work is authentic, it's from the heart, and it's from a place of understanding. I'd love to talk about some of the key messages that you raised through the mental health collection. So, wow, one of my favorite pieces, as you well, I've told you lots of times, PTSD garment. But I think that you were going to bring a miniature to show us a bit of one of your garments, actually. I'm so excited, guys. So Sarah not only makes the life-size garment, but also makes a smaller model garment. And so obviously for me as a collector, I'm like, I want all of them. Can't afford them all in one go, but I will be collecting your pieces.
Oh, well, yeah, please do. Please let me know.
So I think, please tell us more about your collection and show us some things.
Yeah, of course. So so I do have the PTSD one with me today. I'm aware that it's quite dark though, that's the only thing. So I don't know. Yeah, can you see it like this?
I can see the bands that are going around the waist. Yeah, I can see them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll talk about that. So so the ribbon that goes around is asymmetric. So it's only on one side. And this represents a cage. So with PTSD, people will experience flashbacks, and sometimes flashbacks can be sometimes as traumatic as the event itself. And a lot of the times flashbacks arise, unannounced, unprepared. So it can really shake people to their core. And when you're experiencing a flashback, for me anyway, like I said, it's like you're kind of back in that trauma again, back in that moment. And because you can't really control it happening, and sometimes you can't control it until it's you can't make it stop either. It feels like you're stuck in a cage. So that's where the ribbon represents a cage. It feels like you're locked back into that moment again. And it's like representing the fact that you don't really have control over it as well. It's very suffocating. And then there's a piece missing.
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah, you can see there's a panel missing just there on one side. Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, and it's also on the trouser. Forgot about that. So the piece missing represents fragmented memory loss, which stems when people have PTSD. So people with PTSD can go through so many different types of therapies, which I've only just realized how long the list actually is. Steve showed me the other day, which is great. So one type of therapy that I went through is CBT trauma therapy, and CBT trauma therapy is about figuring out the event order, the instance order in temporal order. And the idea is that you're because basically when you're enduring the trauma because of the fragmented memory loss, it means that your brain is shut down, and it means that it's trying to protect you from remembering the trauma. And a lot of the times after the trauma, people only remember bits of it. So then when you're in therapy, the idea is that you are in a safe environment with your therapist, talking about the trauma, potentially maybe reliving it, but like I said, it's a safe environment. So it depends on the trauma, it depends on the person as well, but for me it worked, and it made me piece back the missing parts that I had forgotten from the fragmented memory loss. And that's basically what the piece missing means.
The detail, I just love the fact that you have this detail to because it's like that detail, that decision to remove that bit of fabric has led us into this your psyche and like what was, you know, what happens with the PTSD and the processing, and I mean that's fascinating.
Thank you so much.
It's true. I mean, it really does, you know, it just makes you think, and it does stop me in my tracks. And I think anyone who comes to your garments, and you know, I mean, especially when it's the condition that you're diagnosed with and you start seeing it, and it's just,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, because it's so hard to make sense of PTSD, and on top, because it's kind of like, you know, because it's so wild, and it's like finding these connections and these things in life that you're like, I get that, I understand that, I have, you know, balance with that, or you know, it's just, you know, it's really necessary, to be honest. It's really healing. So
Thank you so much. That's really nice to hear that. I mean, I also think that it works because, you know, a lot of times when you're learning about mental health conditions, it's writing, whereas to have a visual element, you know, a lot of people are visual creatures. So to have that can really draw the person in, like you said. And then also when an art speaks to you, like that's just like, yeah, it's a game changer, you know, it soothes the soul, I think.
yeah. But you know what, for me personally, I don't know about other people who've been through trauma, but I find, and I didn't know this, I didn't understand this, when I was in the art world, there'd be certain art, I'm not going to mention any names, but there'd be certain paintings and things that I found hideous. And these would be top selling artists. These would be, oh, they are absolutely fantastic. And I'd be like, I cannot look at that. They've used the colors, the way it's jaggedy, the way it is lit. And I was had some undiagnosed trauma going on there, but which I didn't know about. But it was just funny that even not being diagnosed, I was having this relationship with certain things where I was like, no, I don't want to look at it. I can't. And it was too violent. And then when I come to work, you know, like your work is somewhere where I can actually connect, you know, connect on a creative level, and that piece to experiential work, you know, and it's not the same as like some of the reactions I've had to some of the paintings where I'm like, oh, I don't even want to look at it. Yours is just like, because of that visual element, you know, there's so much to it, and it's not just this traumatic message, it's actually, you know, a wonderful journey. So
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting a balance of educating people and like softly raising awareness and not it not being so in your face. I mean, I think something that helps is that like when you look at them, you don't realize that it's about mental health. It's only once you learn about the concepts, which I think is why Times Change really liked it, because it draws anyone in really.
yeah,
And then they learn about it. So
it's just like
yeah.
having a diagnosis, it's just like having PTSD. No one really knows what's going on with you until they ask you and talk to you about it, and then you say, this is why I'm jumping, this is why I'm reacting.
Oh my gosh, it's
Oh,
so
that
true.
makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. People just don't understand what people are going through until people talk.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fascinating. So I am chatting away with you this evening. I am sorry about this.
No, don't apologize. It's great.
No, I love it. I'm too, you know, and you know, this is what I wanted to ask you about actually. So, I mean, you've touched on it a bit, to be fair, but you know, when you're actually designing with other people, so what a part of your process of research is that actually to speak to people with different conditions, not PTSD, it might be something, you know, quite different, and you actually get to know them, and then you formulate your kind of, you know, your concept and your designs through those conversations. How did it feel to you when you then present to, say, when you have the show and, you know, you've been working with someone who has a condition, and then you say, well, this is the garment I've realized, and you see them exploring it and think, oh, I understand, oh, I like that type. How is that, like, what's that experience like? It must be nerve-wracking when they first come to.
Oh my gosh, yes, so nerve-wracking, because like I'm consciously aware that I'm talking about very sensitive subjects. And you know, the last thing I want to be doing is, you know, making a trend out of it in fashion, or being insensitive, or taking away the seriousness of it. So I'm like really aware of that all the time. And I'm, you know, if anyone was to ever come up to me and say that, you know, this isn't, you know, I want to talk to them and, you know, see how we can like make things better. So I'm definitely aware of that. I also had a really nice experience with my solo exhibition in Somerset, where I had all of the garments on display at Bridgewater and Taunton College, and I actually invited a lot of the people I had conducted the interviews with to come and look at the garments. And that was a really special moment for me, because like I could really see that like they like basically I was trying to figure out if the representation was, you know, correct and stuff, and I also wanted to hear their views on it. And yeah, it was very emotional, like in a good way, you know. It was really nice. I could see that a lot of them, you know, could understand what I was talking about. So that really gives me hope in terms of when I'm talking about my mental health garments, that, you know, I am aware of it. You know, I'm not just doing it for a trend or anything. Like, it is there to educate people, and what I'm talking about is, you know, factual information. And part of the process I go through as well is that before I conduct any interview, especially if I'm conducting an interview on a, let's say, mental health condition that I don't personally have experience with, or even if I do have experience with it, I'll go through a process of doing looking through academic research. And my really close friend, my best friend, is also an occupational therapist assistant. So she helps me as well learn where to look for the right journals, the right academic research. Because, you know, you could really just be looking at any website and it could be telling you anything, and then you might believe it, but you need to be making sure that you're going through, like, you know, specific research to understand such serious and sensitive subjects. So that really helps as well. I think I've just gone off on a bit of a tangent. Sorry about that.
Absolutely, this is perfect. This is the process, you know, that we are not trending. You know, when I teach fitness and lifestyle, when you are doing your fashion, we're not trying to say to people, hey, mental health is a hot topic, let's talk about it. We're not. It's very genuine. It's coming from a place of, this is kind of what I'm living with, this is how I express it, this is what other people are dealing with. I have a sensitivity to them and their experience, because, you know, we've got certain symptoms, you know, that align with other people's conditions, and, you know, there is a recognition there. And I think that's, you know, that's really important. And so you're not just saying, oh, I think I'll put a bit of PTSD in this and it should get a bit of, no, you're actually saying, you know, let's really explore these issues and let's talk about it, and let's try and like limit the stigma, you know, because what a lot of it is people don't recognize these conditions, and then they see you know, like we both have had, I mean, I can comment for myself, I have hypersensitivity. It's gone down a bit, but it's really high. And that changes the way you interact with people, the way you move around the city, whether you feel confident going outside, all sorts of things, you know, because you're always alert. And, you know, these are experiences that, you know, it's very hard to explain to other people. It's something you almost have to go through yourself. And, you know, you've got that kind of connection that you can make with other people to make them feel comfortable and talk about these things, and realize, you know, these garments, which I'm sure are very healing for the people that work with you, you know. You know, when I see your PTSD garment, I get all excited.
It's really nice to hear. Like, I hope it's healing, you know. And I did actually have one of the interviewees that I interviewed, they actually said that when they were writing out the answers and stuff to my questions, they actually found it really therapeutic, and then they went and got help with counseling and therapy, which I just think is like so incredible to hear. So yeah, and then they've now tackled, well, you know, they're going through, like, you know, the stages of therapy and stuff. So it's just, yeah, it's just fantastic to hear that.
That is absolutely amazing. Like, yeah, hopefully that therapy will take them to the next stage. And you know, so it's all part of being like supporting each other through our you know, mental
Yeah,
health and
exactly.
mental physical health. So you know what I'm like.
Yeah.
It's all about the body and the mind.
Yeah, the mind, body, and soul are
And
all
yeah,
connected.
okay, let's make it more complicated.
Sorry.
No, I'm joking. But okay, so returning so I've only really got time for one more question from you. I can't believe it. But you know what, so I was actually thinking let's kind of combine this one then. So returning to the studio, obviously we've talked about the fact that you actually really enjoy being in the studio and you get to spend quite a lot of time working there, so that's amazing. I just wonder if you've got some top tips, maybe 3 pieces of advice for people working in the city who are managing PTSD. So how do you personally, and it's so important with PTSD, how do you maintain that, see, being, you know, busy? You told us about all the things that you're involved in, there's so much going on, and look after your mental health and be aware of your condition, and say that, you know, you're you know, it's feeding into your creativity and it's not stopping you, you know,
Mm.
it's, you know, how do you do that?
So my top 3 tips, I just want to say first of all that, you know, these tips might not work for everyone, and that's okay. You know, it's all about sometimes trial and error, figuring out which ones fit for you. So if
Yeah.
they don't work for you, then that's totally okay. There's so many other ones to learn about. Sorry, I was distracted by where you're going.
No, it's because I have someone who's making a lot of noise upstairs in the middle of our
Oh,
interview, so I have to move rooms. So
yeah, of course. We
ignore
can just
me.
wait.
I did tell them that they weren't meant to be doing this and that they have a live audience, and now they're going to be recorded, and that's absolutely fine with them. So just ignore where I am and you keep talking.
That's all right. As long as
Sorry.
you feel comfortable.
No, it's fine. You know, you tell people that they need to, because now here's one for you guys. Hypersensitivity, we're very sensitive to sound. So for me to be able to conduct an interview and have someone above me making that kind of noise is impossible for me to concentrate, and it's also it's very challenging. So this is one of the things we deal with in the city. Obviously, it's very noisy, it's very busy, there's a lot of, you know, things going on. So sorry to interrupt, but
No.
please let's have your 3 top tips for mental health in the city. Oh, we've got a free.
Okay, so finding
Oh, there we are.
nature.
Do you mind saying that one more time? Because we just had a freeze on the connection, so I don't want to have missed that.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that's all right. So number 1 is being around nature, and nature. There's nature everywhere. There is nature in London, in the big city, in other cities as well. I've recently, in the past couple of years, found a really beautiful woodland area, like Putney Heath, Wimbledon, Richmond area. So I basically have to spend time in nature. I mean, I'm from Somerset, so I'm from like the fields and countryside, and to be around nature. Yeah, it's really important to just like take a bit of time to be around nature, to be around trees, to be around birds singing, to be around, you know, the crunching of the leaves and stuff like that, or even water. You can go and sit next to the River Thames. Just being around nature is just really, really important for my mental well-being, and also my PTSD as well. You know, but it just kind of goes hand in hand for that. Another thing that's really helped me with my PTSD is journaling. So a lot of the time, you know, maybe I'll get a flashback, or I will just feel really uncomfortable, or just have really like strange thoughts, and just journaling it out, writing it out. I mean, I'm not showing it to anyone.
No.
Don't want to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's for me anyway, I don't want to show anyone, so it's literally just getting my thoughts out, seeing it on a paper. It's a therapeutic journey for me, and then I'm also able to begin thinking about it rationally, especially when I'm in a state of irrational thoughts, to then, you know, put it out on a paper and jot it out, just getting it out of my head really, and then realizing that, you know, I can begin thinking rationally. It's just really, really helped me a lot. And then the third one is, this is something that I've learned in the past year. So, you know, it's not something that everyone can just do straight away, but it's just holding space for myself to feel emotions, and just allowing myself to be kind and compassionate to my mind and body. Just sitting there, sitting with the discomfort of, you know, a flashback or just anything really. It really helps me move through it instead of forcing it away, because by forcing it away, I'm actually just conjuring up something worse, and then it will come back. So it's just allowing space for myself is just been really, really helpful for me.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is so true as well. If you can keep to those 3 points, that should really help with the PTSD, you know. And it's when we lose our balance in terms of we're not spending enough time in nature, or we're not writing down our thoughts, or we're not, you know, that's when it can go a bit haywire.
Yeah,
You know, and
exactly.
PTSD, it's important, isn't it? Because we have those the memories can be affected in terms of sequence, in terms of what comes into your head, in terms of flashbacks, in terms of what triggers you. You know, we don't have any control over that. You know, I was just literally having a lovely peaceful, you know, conversation with you, and then someone started creating sounds, and I actually had to get away, like it was imperative. And this is something, you know, so this really affects how you communicate sometimes. So being able to write sequence puts those thoughts in order. You can edit, you can remove, you can say, oh, okay, that actually came before that. You can actually, you know, do some form of construction. Whereas, you know, if it's sometimes speaking isn't always the easiest with PTSD.
Yeah,
Want
sometimes
to,
you just don't even want to, sometimes you just can't even say it, so just
doesn't come out. So that is so important that you've got that place to be able to, you know, say what you need to say, and how, and give it some form of structure, you know, where, you know, it's not like all over the place. So I mean, I love that, and I think these are really great pieces of advice. And you know, we've actually come to time. I can't believe we've already been talking for an hour. But you know
me
what?
neither.
Yeah, it's been an hour. I can't believe it. But you know what? It's just the things that you shared. You know, it's been such a boost, so inspirational, and it's
Oh,
such
thanks
a
so
wonderful thing to hear someone who is managing PTSD and who knows what it looks like to have a supportive environment. And you know, when people do come into an environment that, you know, they don't support that, and you know, they make things more challenging in terms of mental physical balance, you know, you recognize that to say, right, we need to do something about that, we need to talk about this. And I just think that's amazing. And I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your work and your story, your journey, your experiences, and for being with us today. You know, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Katie. I've really enjoyed it. It's flown by. Like, yeah, I'm really grateful to be invited on and to talk about my experiences and just to have a really nice conversation with you. And hopefully, if we can help at least one person, then that's all that matters.
That's our plan, isn't it? And that's the thing. So guys, so we're recording the conversation because we're going to put it out on our websites. And that means that other people can come and watch it. So people who couldn't make it this evening, or, you know, if you had to step away, you might have missed something. We're going to be putting out the recording. So I aim to get it out on Sunday. Depends what uploading time takes. You know how uploading is, but so I aim to get that out on Sunday so that, you know, you can have a rewatch, and you know, if there's anything that you know, if you missed anything, or if you want to send the link out to anyone you know who likes fashion, or who might want to talk about mental health issues, please do. So it's there. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat, and I will ask Sarah. Yeah. Well, I do have one question while we see if anyone else has questions, and that's this one. So, Sarah, you know how important the colour silver is to me.
Oh, yeah.
Have, all silver clouds, all seeing silver lining. And so I was wondering, do you plan on working with silver in your collections in the future? I know it's a bright one, isn't it? Sparkly.
Yeah, so I love the color silver. I love wearing silver. It makes me very happy. And yeah, I will be working with silver. I'll be working with silver and gold.
I love
Um,
that combo. Sorry.
That's okay, because basically, the next bespoke collection I'm bringing out is on raising awareness of trauma, and I'm heavily inspired by kintsugi. So kintsugi is the Japanese broken pottery where your pot gets broken and then you glue it back together, and you glue it in between with gold or silver. So yeah, the cracks, that's what I'm going to be working on.
Do you know the artist Ai Weiwei? Now, I
Yeah.
could be totally quoting this all wrong. I did see his exhibitions. I even worked. No, don't tell anyone, because if I get it wrong, I didn't work with anyone. No, but he has the display of the cracked vases, and I can't remember. I have some recollection whether there was a seal, whether there was some kind of edging to it. I really can't remember. See, I'm always putting myself on the spot in this sense. So
That's all right, I'll look it up.
yeah, look up Ai Weiwei and vases. He definitely talks about vases, and
Cool.
there's a picture of him like to smash it. That I don't know if he was smashing them, but to smash vases on the floor, and there is a meaning of around this. And with I'm going to give my excuse, the PTSD brain, which is actually very real. It's not allowing me to connect to a project I did about 8 years ago.
Well, I mean, 8 years ago, that's a long time.
Been through a lot since then.
Exactly.
But no, that is fascinating to hear about your new project. So yeah, I want you to keep me up to date, and guys, do check out Sarah on her socials so she can keep you up to date as well. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I can't stop interrupting you because everything you say, I'm like, oh yes, oh wow. That's how inspirational these kind of conversations are, you know?
Oh no, I love it. You're not interrupting me. We're having a conversation. No, I'll definitely look the artist up. I feel like maybe I've seen some pictures of it.
I know you will. I know you will, and I should know more. But these things. We're on the spot right now. We're on the
No,
hot.
that's what Google's for.
Exactly. All right. Well, I can't see that anyone's got any questions, so I think we've been fairly comprehensive in our conversations. Oh, okay. Thank you, Steve. So he says the kintsugi is symbolic of recovery. Those who are broken come back stronger and more beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that a lovely thing? So there we
It's a
go.
nice thing to end on as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's a question.
Oh, okay. No. Would you recommend crochet or lino printing for activities over lockdown? So what would you recommend? Because I love lino printing. What's your thoughts on crochet?
Oh, well, I think crochet is really therapeutic. So I think it's a great project for people to get into. Doesn't really take a lot of materials to source. It's just a crochet hook and some yarn. So, and then the world is your oyster. So yeah, lino printing is really cool as well. I think they're both great. I think they're both really therapeutic, but crochet you can literally just do anywhere.
Yeah. Really. It's not as messy as printing. There's a lot of ink involved. Although as a calligrapher, I've got clean hands today, but I'm normally covered in pink or green or something. So lino printing.
Really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I have actually got ink on curtains and bedspreads, and yeah, so that's the hazards of working with ink. So if you are going to be doing your lino printing, please do protect your surfaces and don't wear your favorite top. Don't do it in bed. That's the advice for someone who learned.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's really therapeutic, isn't it? Doing activities like that. So, oh, Sarah, will there be a garment produced around the interview with Katie and Katie? I wonder. Yes, please can you do a lovely silver dress for me, but PTSD style, please.
Well, I think we'll be talking after this chat. That's for sure. I'd love to.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I want to curate you. I want to create a show with you and really get your garments out there, you know, as Laura Fisher did. So
I would love that. That would
you
be
know, I
incredible.
think that's fantastic. And I
That
love
would be
creating, so match made in
well
heaven.
then.
Steve can do the talking, he can do a presentation for us.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that sounds amazing. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, see, we're always making connections, you know. When you have a mental health diagnosis, it doesn't mean the end, it means different projects, different conversations. Let's go.
Sometimes it means the beginning, you know. Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
know who you're
fresh
gonna meet.
starts, different people, exactly. So all right, guys. Well, I'm just gonna say thank you very much again, Sarah.
Thank you so much,
For
Katie.
joining us, and yeah, we look forward to seeing more of your work and hearing more from you as time goes on. So
Thank you so
you.
much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, thank you.